Let me paint you a picture. Saturday morning. September sunlight streaming through the blinds like God was trying to apologize in advance. I was flipping pancakes in the kitchen, Blueberry, her favorite, when my wife of 8 years, Dana, came downstairs with her phone in one hand and zero eye contact in the other. Morning, she said, like the words tasted sour. Hey, I replied, flipping a perfect golden circle like a man who had no idea the universe was teeing up a gut punch. We were supposed to visit her parents that afternoon. That was the plan. I'd packed the car, printed the directions, because Dana still didn't trust GPS, even prepped a little gift basket for her dad. But then her phone dinged, and everything started to unravel. She stared at the screen a beat too long. You know that look? Not surprise, not concern, just amusement she tried to suppress. I knew that smirk. I'd seen it before, when she thought she was smarter than me. I slid the pancakes onto a plate. Something funny? She said, snapping out of it. Oh, just Anna. Memes. Anna, her best friend since college. The default alibi for everything from late nights to lipstick smudges. I didn't press. Not yet. See, Dana thought she had me pegged. The dependable husband. Routine-loving, spreadsheet-building, emotionally stable to a fault. What she didn't know was that I'd been watching for weeks. Everything fell off lately. Her perfume changed. Her texts got vague. Her smiles were sharper, polished, rehearsed, but without warmth. And when I kissed her goodnight, it felt like trying to connect with a ghost wearing Chanel. So I did what any man with a brain and a spine would do. I got curious. Not paranoid. Curious. There's a difference. 2 nights prior, I swapped her phone charger with one that could mirror data to a drive I controlled. I wasn't proud of it, but I was tired of lying awake wondering if the person I loved most had already checked out. That morning, while she was in the shower, I synced everything to my laptop. And brother, it was all there. Not just a name. A pattern. Late-night texts to someone saved as therapy. I'll give her points for creativity. You know what else was there? A picture. Him shirtless, her in a robe I bought her last Christmas, biting her lip like some cliché from a mid-tier romance novel. The caption? Round 2. Cute. So I made coffee. Set her plate. Sat down across from her like nothing had changed. Because the worst thing you can do when someone underestimates you is prove them wrong too soon. Hey, I said casually. I've been thinking, maybe we do something different this weekend. Just the two of us. She looked up, surprised. Skip my parents' place? Why not? I smiled. You've been tense. You deserve a break. She blinked, calculating. Yeah, that sounds nice. Good. She was on the hook. And I was just getting started. We didn't go to her parents' house that weekend. We went to a cabin. My cabin. See, a few years back I inherited a chunk of land in the hills from my Uncle Harold. Everyone called it a money pit. Dana rolled her eyes every time I brought it up. It's rustic, I said. She called it murdery. That was her word. Still, I kept it quiet. Fixed it up on the side. Installed cameras. Added a wine fridge. Called it my retreat. Dana didn't know about the security system. She didn't know about the second guest log either, the one I checked before we left. Funny thing, she had been there a few weeks ago, just not with me. So when I suggested it as a last-minute getaway, she hesitated just long enough for me to see it. That microsecond of panic. Then, just like she always did, she put on the smile. Sure, she said. That could be fun. We drove up Saturday morning. I watched her in the passenger seat the entire time, legs crossed, sunglasses on, flipping through her phone like she wasn't sitting next to a man with a plan. She kept texting, smiling faintly at something that apparently wasn't me. You texting Anna? I asked, biting the inside of my cheek. She glanced up. Yeah, she's bored. Tell her she should get a hobby. I kept my tone light. Maybe therapeutic hiking. Dana laughed. Not the full one. The rehearsed kind. She didn't know that I'd already disabled the GPS in her phone. She didn't know that I'd rerouted the cabin Wi-Fi through my own server. And she sure as hell didn't know what I found when I pulled security footage from 2 weeks ago. Her, in the same robe, at the same table we were about to have dinner on. With him. His name was Trevor. Trevor, the walking cologne commercial with a vape pen and the emotional depth of a puddle. That night at the cabin, I made dinner. Steak, medium rare, her favorite. Poured her a glass of that overpriced red she kept hiding in the pantry behind the granola bars. To us, I said, raising a glass. She clinked, smiled. I could see her eyes scanning the cabin, like she was remembering. Maybe a flash of guilt. Or maybe just a mental tally of all the places she had lied to my face. So, I said casually, "You were here recently, weren't you?" She blinked. "Huh, couple weeks ago." I noticed the wine inventory was off. I smiled. "Weird, right?" Dana froze for half a second, then shook her head. "Oh, I mean, I dropped by. Thought about surprising you, but I changed my mind." "Oh." I leaned in. "You come alone?" Silence. Not long, but long enough. She sipped her wine. "Of course." I nodded. "Good." And then I excused myself, walked outside onto the deck, and let her sit in that house, alone, with her lies. I stood there for a full 10 minutes, just listening. No footsteps, no apology, no confession, just the clink of a wine glass and the hum of someone who thought they'd won. That was the moment I knew. She still thought I didn't know. She still thought I was playing checkers. I had been playing chess for weeks. And tomorrow? Tomorrow was the day the board flipped. We woke up to fog. Thick, slow-moving mist curling through the trees like the forest was exhaling secrets. Fitting, really. Dana stretched beside me like someone who still thought she was in control. She smiled, kissed my shoulder. "Sleep okay?" she asked. "Like a baby," I said. Left out the part where I barely blinked, listening to every rustle in the dark, every shift in her breathing, wondering if she'd finally confess in her sleep. She didn't. Of course she didn't. She wasn't that kind of liar. She was the kind who took her betrayal black. No cream, no sugar. After breakfast, she wandered outside with a book. I stayed back in the cabin. Not to nap, not to relax, but to finish setting the trap. There's something comforting about methodical revenge. The kind where you can still fold laundry while ending someone's illusion of control. Step 1 had already been done. I had forwarded everything. Texts, photos, timestamps, even GPS logs of her and Trevor entering this cabin, into a private Google Drive folder titled Insurance Policy. Step 2? I added her entire contact list to the share link. But with a delay. You know how Gmail lets you schedule emails? Monday, 6 p.m. sharp. Her boss, her friends, her mother, the HOA group chat, because why not? Even her old Pilates instructor who called me a sweet little Labrador. All of them would get a message. Subject line: "Since honesty matters." Attached: screenshots, audio, that security cam photo of her and Trevor kissing over wine. One where her hand was unmistakably in the back pocket of someone who wasn't me. Step 3? I synced her phone back up to mine. Every photo she deleted? Restored. Every app she thought was secret? Mirrored. Nothing was private anymore. And then came the final step, my favorite. I walked out onto the porch. Dana was curled in a blanket, pretending to read, probably texting Trevor under the chapter heading of emotional labor. "Hey," I said casually, "you mind taking a quick photo of me in front of the cabin? For memories?" She looked up, smiled, and nodded. "Sure." She took the photo. I checked it. Perfect. Then I said, "Your turn." She raised an eyebrow. "Why?" I held up my phone. "So you'll always remember what this weekend was. You know, the turning point." There was a flicker in her eyes. "What do you mean?" I smiled. "That calm, practiced kind that looks gentle until it's not. I mean, Monday's going to be busy for you. You should rest up." She tilted her head, confused but trying not to show it. "You're being weird." I just said, "Am I?" and walked back inside. Because the thing is, when you really want someone to feel what you felt, you don't raise your voice. You don't throw dishes. You let them sip their coffee with both hands, not realizing the world's about to drop out from under them. She still had 2 full days before the truth caught up to her. And I was just getting comfortable. Sunday afternoon wore the disguise of peace. Birds chirped, trees swayed, and Dana acted like we were living inside an Instagram post. She made soup, sat by the fire, even hummed. And I, ever the loving husband, matched her energy like a mirror. Because when you're a few moves from checkmate, you don't tip the board, you polish it. I checked my watch, 2:17 p.m. Right on schedule. "Want to go for a hike?" she asked, poking her head in from the porch. "Nah," I said, stretching. "Think I'll stay in, finish that book." She raised a brow. "You hate fiction. Trying something new?" I replied. She shrugged, zipped up her vest, Trevor's favorite, coincidentally, and disappeared into the woods. A 90-minute loop, give or take. She always walked fast when she was feeling guilty. I timed it before. The second I heard her footsteps fade, I opened the drawer under the kitchen sink and pulled out a small black remote. Click. A camera hidden in the birdhouse on the porch blinked to life. One in the light fixture above the mantel did the same. I wasn't taking chances, not anymore. Not when I'd spent the last 6 months pretending not to notice a marriage rusting quietly from the inside. Then came the knock. Free firm. Right on cue. I opened the door and found him. Trevor. Hair gelled like he was auditioning for a cologne ad, expensive boots, and the look of a man who thought he was part of a rom-com where the husband conveniently dies in a wood chipper accident. Mark, he said, a little too chipper. Trevor. I leaned on the doorframe, arms crossed. You're early. He blinked. Wait, you knew I? Of course, I interrupted. You thought she invited you behind my back? His smug grin faltered. You're okay with this? Come in, I said. Let's talk. He stepped inside slowly, eyes darting like a raccoon casing a kitchen. The smell of cedar and soup must have confused him. He probably expected drama. Raised voices. Tears. Instead, he got me. Calm, unbothered, and 15 steps ahead. I didn't think you'd be here, he muttered. You mean because Dana said this cabin was your place now? I smiled. Yeah, I saw that message too. He paused. Look, man, I didn't mean for this to get messy. She said you two were basically done. I nodded. She tells everyone that. She's been basically done for 3 years. Still keeps cashing the joint checks, though. He chuckled, relieved. So what's this then? Some kind of closure weekend. I motioned toward the table. Take a seat. He did, stretching like he owned the place. That was the thing about Trevor. Always thought he walked into people's lives to rescue them from boredom. And maybe he did, until he realized bored people can still be dangerous. Can I ask you something? I said, pouring him a glass of wine. Shoot. You ever wonder why someone like Dana picks someone like you? He laughed. Well, I've been told I'm charming. No, I said calmly. You're convenient. She doesn't want someone better. She wants someone easier. He tilted his head, squinting. What's that supposed to mean? I leaned forward, lowered my voice like I was sharing a family secret. You're temporary, Trevor. A layover. Dana's done this before, and she'll do it again. She finds someone, bleeds them for attention, then plays the victim when it falls apart. He scoffed. You sound bitter. I smiled. Nope, just observant. Trevor stood up, suddenly uncomfortable. Okay, well, this is weird. I'm gonna go wait in the car until she gets back. Oh, I said, she doesn't know you're here. That froze him. She told you to come, didn't she? I asked. He hesitated. Well, she hinted. Said she might be here alone. That it would be nice if I surprised her. Trevor, I said, standing, you weren't the surprise. I was. He narrowed his eyes. What is this? A moment of clarity, I replied. He turned to leave. I didn't stop him. I just handed him a manila envelope on his way out. What's this? Everything, I said. Screenshots, messages, photos, a full report on the last 6 months. He opened it, skimmed. His face lost color. You had her followed? No, I said. I followed the pattern. The rest I let technology handle. He stared at the last photo. The two of them, here, on this porch. Dana's hand in his hair, his lips on her neck. Timestamped, tagged, categorized. Why are you giving me this? He asked. I opened the door. So you'll know what you're walking into, and what you'll never get out of. He walked out, stunned silent. Good. I had no use for his words. 10 minutes later, Dana returned. She found me on the porch, sipping coffee, face serene. Hey, she said, flushed and glowing. I saw a car down the hill. Someone here. I shrugged. Delivery guy? Wrong address. She didn't question it. She never did. That night, I lit the fire and watched her curl into a blanket, humming again, sipping wine. The same bottle Trevor had touched. And I sat across from her, content. Because she didn't know that Trevor was gone. She didn't know what was coming Monday. She didn't know that the moment she left for her hike, I'd removed the tracking chip she'd hidden in my coat last month. Yeah, she planted one. Amateur. The whole time she thought she was playing me, she was walking straight into a masterpiece. And we're just halfway through. There's a kind of silence that only shows up when someone thinks they've won. Dana had that silence. The kind you wear like a luxury coat. One you didn't pay for, but still expect to be admired in. She was humming to herself as we drove home Monday morning. Hair tied back in that effortless bun she always wore when she felt powerful. If she noticed I hadn't said a word in 20 minutes, she didn't let on. She thought the weekend had worked, that her little vacation trick had smoothed things over, that maybe I'd come back around, go soft again, return to my default setting. Dependable, forgiving, boring. She didn't know I had spent Sunday night scheduling one email to detonate at 6 p.m. sharp. You know what's poetic? 6 p.m. is exactly the time her girls group usually met on Zoom. Wine, gossip, and collective delusion. That same group was about to get front row seats to her highlight reel. But we'll get there. We pulled into the driveway just after noon. The house looked the same, but to me, it felt hollow, like someone had drawn a perfect copy of it without bothering to add a soul. Dana stepped out of the car and stretched like a cat that had just eaten the neighbor's bird. Home sweet home, she said. I opened the trunk. She turned to me. You've been quiet. Everything okay? I nodded. Just a lot on my mind. She smiled sweetly. Me too. Oh, I bet. We spent the next hour unpacking. Dana moved with ease, placing her bag next to mine like she hadn't been planning a full departure just a few weeks ago. I noticed she left her phone charging in the kitchen, the same phone I'd mirrored. Every message, every thread, every wink face sent from an unsaved number that turned out to be Trevor. At 5:45 p.m., I sat on the porch and poured myself a whiskey. I gave her one final gift, peace. She was inside FaceTiming her sister, or maybe pretending to. I didn't care. She laughed like she had just gotten away with something. That sound, that airy, smug little ha, told me she hadn't seen it yet. But time was ticking. At 5:58 p.m., I turned my phone to Do Not Disturb. At 6 p.m., exactly, it happened. 27 people received an email titled, Before You Believe Everything She Tells You. It was simple, elegant. It had a photo of Dana and Trevor on the porch, time-stamped. A screenshot of her message to him. Wish I could stay longer. He still has no clue. A brief paragraph from me. This isn't revenge. This is disclosure. Before you get pulled into her version of things. I thought you deserved a look at mine. Draw your own conclusions. No dramatic rant. No slander. Just facts. Let them fill in the rest. 6 minutes later, Dana opened the back door, her face pale. Did you send something? She asked. I sipped my drink. I did. To who? I met her eyes. To everyone who's ever said you were too good for me. She blinked. What did you send? Proof. She didn't speak. Just stared. The color drained out of her face like someone had pulled the plug. Her phone buzzed behind her. Then again. Then again. She turned, vanished into the house, and I could hear it. An avalanche of reality. Dings, rings, her voice rising from disbelief to panic like a woman watching the stock market crash with her name on every share. I didn't go in. I didn't need to. 10 minutes later, she reappeared. You humiliated me, she hissed. You blindsided me. This is malicious. No, I said calmly. This is a mirror. You just don't like what you see in it. She stood there, vibrating with rage. Do you have any idea what you've done to my reputation? I raised an eyebrow. You mean the one built on lies and brunch? That reputation. You sent that to my boss. Yeah, I nodded. Because you used company retreats to spend nights in Trevor's hotel room. Might affect your PTO. She opened her mouth to fire back, but didn't. Because she couldn't. I stood up and walked past her, back inside, where the house still smelled faintly of lavender and denial. I pulled a folder from the drawer and handed it to her. What's this? She asked. Separation papers. I signed my part already. Her hands shook as she flipped through it. You're just ending it? I'm honoring it, I replied. The part you broke. You don't get to hold the frame while I glue the glass back together. She didn't speak. For the first time in a long time, Dana looked small. Not weak. Just cornered. She had always played her games in the fog, implied things, danced around consequences, whispered betrayal like it was a love language. But now the fog was gone. The curtain lifted. And the crowd? Oh, they were seeing everything. She walked toward the kitchen, likely to call someone. Maybe her mom, maybe her lawyer, maybe even Trevor. I wondered what she'd say to him. That I overreacted? That the weekend had been perfect before I ruined it? I stepped outside, let the door close gently behind me, and took another sip of whiskey. She'd find the note later. I'd left it on her pillow. Dana, you said you needed excitement. I just gave it to you. You're welcome. The thing about revenge? It doesn't end with the email. It echoes. By Tuesday, Dana's life had gone full tilt. Her office called her in for a conversation. which is HR speak for you're screwed, but we haven't decided how badly yet. Her girls' group splintered. Half went radio silent. The other half sent those awkward, just checking in, you okay? Texts they only send when they've already picked a side. Spoiler, it wasn't hers. She came home that evening quieter. No heels. No makeup. Just a woman walking through her own fallout in slippers. I was in the garage. Packing. You're really doing this? She asked from the doorway. I already did, I said without turning. She hesitated. It was just a phase. You know that, right? That line made me pause. Not from doubt, just amusement. Dana, I said, looking her dead in the eye. You burned down the house, and now you want to redecorate the ashes. She didn't follow me. She never did when it mattered. Friday night. I was halfway moved into a short-term rental with bad Wi-Fi and cheaper rent when I got the call. Trevor. I let it ring out. He texted right after. We should talk. Man to man. Man to man. From the guy who thought emotional depth meant buying matching mugs. I replied, you got 15 minutes. Public place. My terms. We met at a grimy diner off Route 14. I showed up early, watched him walk in wearing desperation and too much cologne. He sat across from me, sweating confidence. I didn't know she was married. Like that married, he said. I thought you two were separated already. I nodded. Sure. Let's pretend you were just a lost soul with a bad GPS. I didn't come to fight, he said. I came to apologize. That caught me off guard. Until he added, she dumped me. Said I was just a reaction. There it was. She told me she was falling for me, he added. Now she won't answer my calls. I took a sip of coffee. Let me tell you something about Dana. She doesn't love people. She collects them. Like trophies. You were shiny and new. Now you're sentimental clutter. Trevor blinked. Why are you so calm about this? I leaned in, set my cup down. Because I saw it coming. And because I've already won. He didn't respond. He didn't need to. Saturday morning, Dana called. No dramatics. Just a clipped, I think you forgot something. I assumed it was a sweater or maybe my favorite mug. It wasn't. I got a letter, she said. From your lawyer. Ah, I said. That. I had rewritten our prenup 6 months ago, after she started working late and smiling too easily at texts she never showed me. I never told her I filed the revision. She had signed it during our annual insurance review. I told her it was a routine reprint, just a formality. She didn't read it. Too busy watching herself in the reflection of her wine glass. The clause? Infidelity voids spousal support. Full forfeiture. And she had signed with a heart next to her name. You tricked me, she said now, her voice thin. No, I said. I prepared. You chose the path. I just made sure it had a finish line. She hung up. By the time April rolled in, Dana had moved out of the house and into an apartment complex that was more laminate flooring than square footage. Mutual friends stopped being mutual. Her social media? Wiped clean. No more beach photos. No quotes about self-worth and trusting your energy. Just silence. I got a message from her mom, of all people. You were always good to her. I'm sorry for what she became. I didn't reply, but I appreciated it. As for me, I started running again, reading again, laughing even. The rental house was small, but honest. No pretending. No tension crawling up the stairs like a house guest you forgot to kick out. And the best part? I had me again. Not the shell Dana had molded. Not the extra in her spotlight. Just me. 6 months later, I got one final letter from her. A real one. Not a text. Not a voicemail. A letter. Handwritten. It said this. Mark, I don't know what I expected from all of this. Maybe I thought you'd chase me. Maybe I wanted you to lose it. Scream. Break something. That's how most men react to betrayal. You didn't. You just let the world see the truth. You didn't punish me, Mark. You revealed me. That was worse. Because now I have to live with it. You once told me, years ago, that I'd always underestimate you. I laughed at the time. I'm not laughing now. Dana. There was no apology. Just clarity. It was the closest thing to closure I'd ever get from her. And it didn't come with a hug or a drink or a pathetic, I miss us. It came with silence. And that's how I knew I'd won. Because the best revenge isn't breaking someone. It's letting them sit in what they broke. Without you there to fix it.